I never thought the day they fired me from the hospital would end with soldiers walking through those same doors, looking for me. My name is Hannah Reeves. I'm a trauma nurse at Ridgeview Medical Center, the hospital that treats wounded veterans transferred in from military bases across the state. 6 months ago, my husband, Master Sergeant Ryan Reeves, was declared missing in action during a deployment overseas. I kept working because it was the only thing keeping me from falling apart. What I didn't know was that his disappearance and everything that happened to me at that hospital were connected in a way I couldn't have imagined. It started small. Medication counts on my unit started coming up short, always on nights I'd covered alone. My supervisor, Dr. Marcus Whitfield, began pulling me into meetings about documentation errors I knew I hadn't made. I noticed he always had the numbers ready before I even sat down, like he'd been building the file for weeks. I'd worked 12 years without a single complaint against me, and suddenly every shift felt like I was walking into an ambush I couldn't see the shape of yet. 3 weeks in, hospital security found a stash of missing painkillers in my locker, a locker with a lock I'd mentioned, in passing, to exactly one person a month earlier, when maintenance had come to fix it and Whitfield happened to be standing in the hallway. I didn't need to be a detective to know someone had used that opening. But when I said that out loud, nobody in that room believed me. I was suspended pending investigation, escorted out by security in front of the whole unit. I sat in the lobby that afternoon, waiting for my ride, too exhausted to even cry, while nurses who used to laugh with me at lunch wouldn't meet my eyes. Before I left, I did the one thing 12 years of charting instinct told me to do. I emailed copies of my own MedCount logs to my personal account. I didn't know yet why I needed them. I just knew I wasn't going to let my only record of the truth live only on hospital servers Whitfield controlled. That same week, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. A woman's voice, quiet, urgent, she gave her name only as Denise, said she'd worked in the billing department until she quit 2 months earlier over something she couldn't stomach signing off on. She said she'd seen inflated treatment codes in the veteran disability claims, phantom procedures billed under real patients' names, patients too injured or too trusting to check their own paperwork. She said Whitfield's name appeared on nearly every one of them. Then she said something that made my chest go cold. She said my husband's unit had flagged that same billing pattern months before he disappeared, and that she'd only found my number because Ryan had written it on a note in his own handwriting, tucked inside a file she'd kept out of the shredder on instinct. I didn't sleep that night. I pulled every old email Ryan had ever sent me about his work, and there it was, a line from almost a year ago I'd read past a dozen times. Some numbers at the base clinic don't sit right with me. Don't mention it to anyone yet. I'd assumed he meant something small. I understood now he'd been careful on purpose. I started cross-referencing what I had. The billing codes Whitfield used on veteran files matched, almost exactly, the drug quantities that had gone missing from my own unit right before I was framed, same date ranges, same volume patterns. It wasn't a coincidence, it was one scheme wearing 2 faces. Someone needed a fall guy fast, and a nurse with a missing husband, already grieving, already distracted, was the easiest one to make disappear quietly. I sent everything I had, my saved logs, Denise's account, the date overlaps, to the one number Ryan's old message had listed for his unit's inspector general. 2 days later, a man in a plain government sedan pulled up outside my house. He said my information had already crossed a desk that mattered, and that it matched a file already 6 months open. Then he said the sentence that changed everything: your husband isn't missing. He's been building this case since before he vanished, and what you just sent finished it. Ryan wasn't dead, and he wasn't lost overseas. He'd gone quiet on purpose after finding the same fraud pattern at the base clinic, working in secret with military investigators once he realized the scheme reached further than one dishonest doctor. When he got too close, Whitfield's logistics partner arranged his sudden disappearance during a routine transport, betting that without Ryan, the trail would go cold. It nearly did, until the two halves of the same fraud, base side and hospital side, ended up connected by nothing more than a note Ryan had left behind and a nurse who refused to accept being blamed quietly. 3 days later, I walked back into Ridgeview beside federal investigators executing a warrant built on the records I'd sent. I watched Whitfield's face go white when the doors to the records office opened. Then I heard boots in the hallway, real ones this time, and I turned to see Ryan, alive, in uniform, leading the team that came to finish what he'd started 6 months earlier, and what I'd finished proving in the 6 months he was gone. The same lobby chair I'd been sitting in when they walked me out was the same spot where I stood when they walked him back in. Whitfield and his partner were arrested that afternoon. The fraud traced back through 2 years of falsified veteran claims. My suspension was lifted within the week, my record cleared, and the story of what really happened to Ryan finally made it into the official record instead of a missing persons file. People ask me sometimes if I ever doubted him during those 6 months. I tell them the truth, I doubted everything except one thing, that whatever was happening, it was bigger than a simple mistake. What I don't tell most people is that I didn't just wait to be proven right. I made sure there was something worth believing in by the time he came home.